Well, the 2G verdict is out and it is a shocker. It's taken people by surprise. All accused stand acquitted. With us, the former CAG official, Mr. Sinha, Sanjay Kapoor and Zafar Islam of the BJP. Mr. Sinha, let me ask you, sir, and I'll read to you what the order says. It says the lack of clarity in the policies as well as the guidelines also added to the confusion. The guidelines have been framed in such technical language that meaning of many terms are not even clear to DOT officers. We just heard there from Siddharth Luthra also saying that this is a wake-up call, that there needs to be better training, that people who are involved with investigation, etc., need to understand these matters because they are so technical in nature. Would you today concede, sir, that perhaps that at the heart of the problem was the fact that there was confusing guidelines and maybe even the CAG didn't quite understand what the DOT was trying to say, because the DOT clearly, if you go by this order, didn't understand what it was trying to say?
I'm not getting again. Sound nahi aa raha hai.
Mr. Sinha, can you hear me, sir?
No, I'm not getting the sound clearly. Now
okay, I was just asking you, Mr. Sinha,
I was not getting it for some time.
At the heart of the problem, sure, no problem, I'll repeat it, sir. At the heart of the problem seems to be what the order suggests, a lack of clarity in the policies as well as guidelines, which added to the confusion. We also just heard there from Siddharth Luthra, senior lawyer, saying that this is a wake-up call, that we need more technical expertise within our investigative agencies, sir. Would you concede today that perhaps there was a distance between what the DOT guidelines said, how the CAG interpreted those? Maybe things could have been different if there was a better understanding both on the part of the DOT as well as the CAG.
You see, guidelines for anybody to see, its guidelines are very clear. The main guidelines which are issued, which are applicable were, I think, for December 2005. And those guidelines were under implementation for the last 2 years. Under that guidelines, after 2004, at least more than 50 applicants had applied for licenses. And those under the policy, under implementation, the FCFS policy, it was to be licenses were to be given. But then you must be knowing that quite a few licenses were kept for a very long period of time. The DOT was behaving in a very arbitrary and whimsical manner. Against the deadline of 30 days, some of the licenses were given after, say, 2 years. And many were kept pending. So to say that policy was vague, I don't think policy was vague. Its implementation was arbitrary, which I think we also found, and even Supreme Court had stated that the policies were interpreted arbitrarily. So had they followed even their own declared policy, that was the first come, first serve policy, then things wouldn't have come this bad. Even their own policy of FCFS was not followed, and thereafter we had stated on the grounds on which the policy was not followed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything was stated there, and that's why perhaps the Supreme Court had accepted that. I don't know.
And I think yes, and I think Mr. Judge Saini also. Judge Saini also talked, well, he's not talking about quid pro quo, but he does talk about the fact that there was a lack of clarity in the guidelines, in the policies. The DOT, he says in the order itself, DOT officials themselves did not understand the departmental guidelines and their glossary. How can they blame companies and others for violation of the same? That is what the order of Judge Saini says. Sanjay Kapoor, final words from you before we close the program. I'll give Zafar the final say, but a quick thought from you, Sanjay, before I wrap.
Yeah, Shireen, before I really conclude, I would like to say that, yes, with this transformation that every industry, and not only telecom, is facing to get into the digitized world and the Googleized world, I think upskilling will be required at every level, including government departments, investigative agencies going forward. Otherwise, we will have many such situations to be debating on in future. And I'm sure we want to avoid that, and the judges will be much better equipped if proper investigation can be done, and everybody is complying to the new rule of the digital world and new understanding of the digital world. While I say that,
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever might be.
Need upskilling. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Upskilling is required. And whatever might have been the verdict today, and we respect that as Indian citizens, but the fact is that the telecom industry has really been messed up over the last 7-8 years and, continues to still be fledgling. So I hope that trauma ends, and going forward with the consolidation of the market, we see a new daylight for this industry going forward.
All right, Zafar Islam, let me end by asking you, what is this now going to mean for the political equations? It seems fairly clear now that the winter session of Parliament is going to be a washout. Is there likely to be a change in dynamics between the BJP and the DMK? Prime Minister Modi did meet with the DMK Supremo. There seem to have been overtures. The DMK today says that its alliance with the UP and the Congress is intact. But can we see a shift? Can we see a change?
Well, one should not speculate about the Prime Minister's visit to see ailing senior leader of DMK. And he just paid a visit because he was in the city, and one should not speculate about it. But having said that, what is more important, Shireen, I think everyone has spoken, but you must understand that the advantages of this 2G, with the BJP exposing the 2G scam, and today there is a complete transparency. You see the last auction, how the realization was there and how much we have realized after the auction, because there was a complete transparency and the government has been able to realize much more than what in normal process would have been. And I must tell you that this is just a temporary respite it was for Congress party, but as we go along, you'll see that, of course, the agencies will go for appeal, and a lot more will come up because they will have to submit all the information they have is available with them.
We'll see when that appeal is mounted. Zafar Islam, Sanjay Kapoor, and our other guests, many thanks for joining us on CNBC TV18. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up our special broadcast as we decode the implications of the order from the 2G trial court. This is a matter that will continue to grab headlines. We'll track the developments here. Thanks for watching.